Mike Williams finished wide receiver 10 last year, 76 receptions, 129 targets, 1,146 yards, 9 touchdowns, 19.6% target share. Thoughts on Mike Williams?
Kind of the tale of two seasons, right? Like Mike Williams, the first half of the season was giving Cooper Kupp a run for his money as the best wide receiver to have in fantasy for that year, and then kind of hit a lull, and then did just enough down the stretch kind of to hold in that top 10 performance. I think we see some regression. I think everybody is pretty well in agreement with that. But I do think that he still is wide receiver 2 territory because the Chargers do throw the ball so much. So it was nice to see him kind of put it all together last year after so many attempts that just kind of didn't pan out for him. But there's still the worry, right? When teams really focus in on Mike Williams, he does tend to fade away a little bit. So, finishing wide receiver 17, 18, somewhere in that range, I think is probably where he finishes out just because of the sheer volume he'll see in this offense. I don't know if we see 9 touchdowns out of him again. I think we're going to see a little bit more production out of the tight end position, see if Keenan Allen is able to get in, from 6 to 7 or 8 and kind of take some away. But again, I like Mike Williams more in 3 wide receiver leagues, like where you're starting 3 wide receivers, than when you're starting 2, if that makes sense. Like just, again, to buffer out some of those weeks where he's probably just going to sting you a little bit. And when you're starting 3 wide receivers, you have a little bit more of a buffer to absorb it.
So he had those 9 touchdowns. 6 of those came in the first 6 games, 5 games. 5 games. He had 6 touchdowns in 5 games, and then 3 the rest of the way. And it was very frustrating. I had Mike Williams last year. It was very frustrating down the stretch when you needed big performances. And in those, first 5 games, he went 8 catches for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns, 7 catches for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, 7 catches, 91 yards for a touchdown, 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. And then just really the touchdown well kind of dried up there for the rest of the way.
They kept the
teams
safety
started to
back
figure
on
out.
him.
Yeah,
right?
teams started to figure it out. Yeah, the defenses were figuring out how to play that to make sure that didn't happen. And he had only 2 more. I mean, he only had 400-yard receiving games throughout the course of the season. 2 of those were in the last 5 weeks. 2 of them were in the first 5 weeks, and 2 of them were in the last 5 weeks. And so it was a little frustrating, especially in the middle part of the season when you're really trying to, gain playoff position and get yourself into the playoffs. He was frustrating. And I think, that blazing fast start kind of skews the overall season statistics for what he was.
At this point, Mike Williams is very much a touchdown dependent wide receiver, right? Like you think back to a few years ago, he had a pretty good finish there in 2018 where he scored 10 touchdowns, right? 2019, again, kind of a bust season there, even though he put up 1,000 yards receiving for fantasy. 2020, again, was kind of a forget it type of year there. But Mike Williams is a guy that's going to go out and average about 15 yards of reception, and is going, and on his really good seasons that he puts up good fantasy finishes, he's going to get right around double-digit touchdowns. And on the seasons that he's not, it's going to be 2 touchdowns type of thing. And you're going to wish that you hadn't drafted him. Now, that being the case, when you look at where he's going at right now, he's coming off the board at an ADP of 56. Overall, when it's all said and done, that's a little rich for my blood there. And I've, still coming off the board as a top 24 type of wide receiver there. I'm going to be out on Mike Williams on that one when it comes to my redraft rosters. I don't necessarily, that's going to be putting him as my second wide receiver coming on my team there. And my second wide receiver, I don't know that I want that kind of volatility